In the year 2010, an event occurred that would shake the entire internet. The renowned hacker group of that era, Anonymous, announced a war against the entire media industry, particularly targeting film and music companies. However, this was not just any war. Whatever happened, Anonymous was so enraged that they declared a virtual mobilization. They called on all online communities to join the fight, creating posters with information on where to download necessary programs and how to participate in the attacks, distributing them all over the internet. Moreover, in the war against the media industry, various online communities, including those on 4chan, declared their support for Anonymous. Why did Anonymous, a formidable hacker group capable of threatening major online communities and even governments, choose to confront the media industry, and what had infuriated them to such an extent? Well, everything began with a major crisis in the media sector, desperately seeking a solution. When the last days of August 2010 arrived, the entire media industry faced a significant problem that caused them billions of dollars in losses. A serious and challenging problem: torrent sites and pirate content. Though not as popular as they once were, these sites had become such a serious problem in the past that they constituted a quarter of all internet data, with pirate content torrents causing annual losses of $100 billion to the film industry alone. Furthermore, every year, 70,000 people in the United States alone lost their jobs in the music industry due to pirate content. Torrent activities didn't just leave their impact on the internet. Once the protection was cracked, the shared content quickly found its way to CDs, causing additional harm to companies. Attempts to shut down these pirate sites were often in vain, as new sites emerged shortly after closure, and site owners in countries like Russia and China continued operations without heeding court decisions. The entire media sector found itself helpless against a few internet pirates. This helplessness led to a common problem for everyone in the media sector. How could they deal with a structure that caused them continuous and irreparable harm? A structure they couldn't handle legally. Lawsuits were ineffective, and closure notices were ignored. At this point, companies devised a different strategy. They decided to fight fire with fire, to hit these sites with their own weapons. They would engage in an illegal battle against them. In theory, it made sense, but in practice, it proved to be a massive mistake for the entire media sector. Despite court orders to shut down, numerous torrent sites that continued their operations or predominantly featured pirate films, series, music, and games were initially targeted by film companies using a software called Iaplex. Through this software, despite court orders, these companies would shut down the torrent sites and inflict their own poison upon them. This alternative, employing illegal solutions for illegal problems, turned out to be a significant error. Despite court orders to shut down, sites that refused to close or contained mainly pirate content faced relentless attacks. An agreement was made with Iaplex, and companies paid significant sums. The objective was to eradicate torrents completely. After the payments and sites were identified, the Iaplex software initiated DDoS attacks. Initially, attacks were directed at smaller torrent sites. These less influential sites fell one by one, and everything was going according to the desires of major companies. Within a few hours, thanks to the Iaplex software, hundreds of torrent sites had fallen, and major companies were savoring the taste of revenge against the structure that had harmed them for years. Internet pirates were unaware that every second another site was closing down, and illegal torrent sites were continuously falling. However, companies were not satisfied at this point. Recognizing the effectiveness of the Iaplex software, they decided to allocate more significant funds and turn their sights on major torrent sites. Targets were identified, including Pirate Bay, and DDoS attacks were initiated. This time, major sites were falling one by one. Finding a standing torrent site on that date was almost impossible. The Iaplex software and media giants had once again succeeded. While the media sector was celebrating a victory, John Sims, a member of the KISS group, issued a warning. Make sure your brand is protected. Ensure there are no leaks. Be ruthless. Sue anyone who pirates your content. Take their homes and cars. This statement was the last straw. Anonymous members on 4chan realized the gravity of the situation. Even the widely used torrents were not functioning. Servers appeared to be closed. Major companies were making harsh statements, and the entire internet seemed to be under their control. The attacks initiated by Anonymous and online communities intensified, with posts sent to 4chan every second, and the reaction grew. This news was the last thing the media sector would want from the group whose news they wanted to be the last to hear. Without a centralized structure, the size, power, and potential of the group originating from 4chan, known as 4chan, were unknown. 4chan, an advocate for total freedom on the internet, and considering piracy within the scope of freedom, was furious at the actions of major companies. According to Anonymous, they believed that companies were lying, and the idea of making more money than content creators, while talking about labor, was absurd. According to Anonymous, launching an attack on people freely consuming films, games, series, and music was unacceptable. Revenge was necessary. It was at this point that they decided to organize an operation. They began by sharing information and creating propaganda posters on 4chan. The poster included the mission, reason, Operation Communication Network, and links to the programs to be used. The propaganda poster was distributed to all subcultures on the internet. The plan was simple. Using a tool called Low Orbit Ion Cannon, LOIC, they would attack designated targets with DDoS through the announced RC chat channel and demonstrate the consequences of freely running rampant on the internet. The first targets were the Aplex software, which had agreements with media companies. The operation was scheduled to start in September. When the designated time arrived, news of the operation's commencement was shared on the Ayarshi chat channel. Anonymous members who had installed the Loic software directed their weapons at Ayaplex, and the attack began. In a very short time, the Ayaplex software's website collapsed. The attacks were so powerful that Ayaplex could not open the site, no matter what they tried. Realizing the extent of their power, Anonymous escalated the attack and targeted the Motion Picture Association of America, MPAA, and the International Federation of the Phonographic Industry, IFPI. Both sites fell quickly. Immediately afterward, DDoS attacks commenced on law firms such as ACS Law, Davenport Lyons, and Gallant Macmillan, which were working for the companies to file lawsuits against torrent sites. The sites targeted by Anonymous fell one by one, unable to withstand the attacks. Anonymous even hacked the websites of some law firms and redirected them to pirated content on torrent sites. The firms trying to fix the damage caused by pirate content were now facing a new problem. No one could access their sites. While DDoS attacks lasted for a few hours or minutes, the mentioned sites had been down for over 30 hours. Anonymous and online communities were so angry that they continued the DDoS attacks relentlessly and without pause. While sites related to the American media industry were being closed one after another, Anonymous expanded the operation to an international scale. The time came for sites in Portugal and the UK. The website of the Portuguese Audiovisual Trade Association was forcibly shut down, and after that, the entire database of the site was leaked online. Similarly, after the UK Ministry of Sound's website was closed with DDoS, an attack was launched on the website of the Spanish Intellectual Property Rights Association. When Operation Payback turned a simple internet operation into a global crisis, the total downtime for the closed websites due to the attacks exceeded 537 hours. At this point, companies had to retreat, abandoning the idea of using Ayaplex to shut down torrent sites. Over the years, companies learned a lesson from this event and moved away from fighting with sites in their own language. Operation Payback resulted in only 13 people being prosecuted, and most of these cases were inconclusive. As a result, companies shifted their focus from attacking pirate content to defending against it. In today's advanced protection sector, some films and games remain unbreakable.